And we welcome you back to What Our Faith Demands, Episode 1, Part 2, with Reverend Tanya Spencer, Reverend Raquel Alston, and me, Rabbi Jonathan Freirich. We are continuing with this question of how do we bring love our neighbor as ourselves into action in the world, and starting with how do we do a better job of feeling the love of God, the love of the divine. And here we go. So I want to continue on this question now.
Okay.
Because love of God is very abstract. And as an abstraction, it's hard to get from abstract to action. Like, I think, for me, I am a lucky person, mostly. And therefore, I get to say, God loves me because my existence is a gift. And that I can, because of a lot of good fortune and advantages, no matter how crappy my day is, I can look back at the universe and say that I have received more than I have lost or struggled. And I think that's at the essence of feeling the gift of the divine, feeling the love of the divine, that my existence is better than not. We have tons of stories and folk stories in Judaism about the rabbi who is mostly poor, right? Who shows up at a wedding and is just happy to be there. And the other rabbi in town is the head rabbi. And he's pissed off the entire time because he is not getting honored. And the first rabbi says, yeah, but that's only because your expectations were off. I didn't expect to be invited, so everything after that was gravy. And that's a recognition of love of God. But I think we're in a crisis of feeling that everybody's suffering much more than we're benefiting. That it's hard to feel the love of the universe, the love of God.
Well, resistance that we feel as ministry leaders, it is challenging and it can be difficult to correct it. But listening to what you're saying, what happens if the hard things with the people in our ministries or in our communities is the actual spiritual formation and it's not the distraction from it? What if that love for Christ, that love for others, is being formed in dealing with the resistances or the challenges or getting in our speaking in our various ministries to show the correct way to love our neighbors as we love ourselves is actually a part not only of our own spiritual formation, but the spiritual formation in others. Discipleship.
So do you mean that part of our job is to foster more discipleship?
No, I'm just saying, with everything that is going on in the world, what happened if it's just a natural part of the body growing, healing, maturing, that we encounter those things. We don't run from them. They're not a distraction to keep us from loving God and loving others, but they're doing something within us as individuals to draw us closer to loving God and loving others.
I will ponder on that some more.
This is a position that I'm not necessarily comfortable with, which is much more of a God in history position. So going back to my involvement in Frederick Douglass at the moment, Frederick Douglass sees God in history, sees God in suffering, sees redemption, right? The way he preaches during the Civil War is that all of this is necessary for making progress because there's so much pain and so much suffering, so he's justifying it in apocalyptic terms. And I feel that what you're saying Reverend Raquel, is that we've got to go through these difficulties in order to learn.
Right. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, I think where we fail to mature as the body, us believers, Christians, disciples, followers of Christ, is in our silence. It's in our judgment. It's in our group thinking, the us versus them mentality. We fail to be a community where we come together and help one another because we see, wow, I'm always helping X, Y, and Z. I'm getting the resources, and boom, my resources are being depleted because I got to go help that person. But do you realize that by you helping X, Y, and Z, the resources keep coming? And we get into this mentality of, oh, if I don't preserve my resources, I'm not going to have anything.
All right, I'm going to push back on the whole burnout thing here. Because I think being the conduit for the infinite is exhausting. Because the three of us are very accustomed to taking from the infinite source, the source of everything, love and giving and compassion, and channeling it constantly, and getting so little in return because we are finite. We are limited. And there's only so much we can do in a space where we're bringing it all. And we get no partnership in return. The three of us are a very interesting counterexample on this because we show up for each other, right? We bring things to the table and there's feedback. There's a sense of collaboration and partnership and, okay, we're not in it alone when we're in it together. But I don't get that feeling when I show up to a community and I'm putting out there what I think are things of infinite value and the community doesn't even want them.
Yeah, our faith is going to cost us something. Really, it's going to cost us something. It's going to cost us our relationships, our income, our status, our comfort, but that's all a part of ministry. And the very basic definition of ministry is serving one another. Going back to what we originally started with, loving God, loving others. We want to flip it in those terms. How are we serving one another? We don't need the prolific accolades that go along with it. It's just a humbling that I'm willing to serve. And yes, serving you do deplete your resources at times. But the beauty of it is when you do it from the heart, you know that you're going to somehow, some way, months, weeks, years later, that restoration is going to come. You're never going to be lacking in service. How's that? Even though it seems a low income word, if you will.
I'm going to say this,
Go ahead.
that, and the biggest issue is because we're supposed to be servants, our mission is supposed to serve. People get to a point, and a lot of pastors, they get put on this pedestal. They feel like they don't have to serve anymore. I served. At the beginning of my ministry, I served for 10 years. Now I'm in this position. I'm getting paid. I got a nice house. I got all this other stuff. I'm not going back to doing that. That's the beginner's job. And that's kind of how it's presented. That's the beginner's job to do that. How do you fight against that when the very people that should be on the line with us, oh, that's beneath me. I don't do that no more.
Because it has to come to a point where we stop giving content and making it theoretical. And there has to be some application in this somewhere. Just as sometimes ministering is lecturing to people. Hey, the stove is hot. Oh, don't touch the stove. And we keep giving the people the content, don't touch the stove. Guess what? They go, it becomes generational. Don't touch the stove. Why? Because just because I had a bad experience with touching the stove, I'm just saying, maybe you can see the goodness in the stove, that it produces warm meals and warmth and so many other wonderful things that come from cooking. That comes from heat being generated. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes in our faith, we just keep regurgitating information from one generation to the next when maybe we had a bad experience in that particular generation. And we tell them, hey, loving people is not all as cracked up to be. Don't do it.
People gonna hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is very interesting because, again, the three of us are excellent theoreticians, but we're also practitioners. And so I had a really interesting conversation with Sadie, our child, the other day about friendship, about making friends, and how much of ourselves do we tell people when we're beginning to become friends, right? Because it's risky. It's risky putting ourselves out there and sharing who we are.
It is.
And the risk is, of course, somebody's going to say something awful to us. Somebody's going to take our story and abuse it. Somebody's going to turn us into a public ridicule for having shared something authentic.
Right. Vulnerability.
Loving is like that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level of vulnerability. And
Because I think, what you both were teaching me today is that we don't know how to love very well. We don't know how to love God or feel God's love. We don't know how to love ourselves or feel our self-love. And we don't know how to love our neighbors or feel our neighbors' love. So what's our homework to help us with this? How do we turn this theory into a doing? What is there something that I can do tomorrow to help me feel a little bit more love?
yeah, do some self-examination. Let's start there. What is it about me that I resent so much that I perpetuate that to somebody that I see? Well, is there unresolved within me? Something that I bury, that I don't want to do. Me playing nice, right? It's like a blanket for so many things. How can I really verbalize what I'm feeling? I'm really tired of the spaghetti dinners that we keep having for the Capitol building. What's wrong with saying that? Instead of taking it a whole nother level, Tanya, Jonathan, I hate seeing you guys in the kitchen every time we have these stupid spaghetti. Stop taking it out on the individual. Maybe it's just the event itself that is causing you so much tension.
Anxiety.
Right, anxiety, right? So now, you guys are my friends. I'm feeling some way about an event, but I take it out on you individually. Do some self-examination about the hate that I'm giving to somebody that does not look like me. Why do I despise, resent them, loathe them so much? Was it something that happened?
So I think, Reverend Michael, you've got a great piece of homework here. I think the last thing you said is too hard. But I think
The spaghetti dinners, we can't have them anymore.
no. I think this is something we can all do. This is something I can do. I can stop myself when I'm having a strong emotional reaction and ask why. Maybe even a strong irritated reaction. I come from a family of origin with a lot of irritability, a lot of negative reactivity right away. And so what happens if between now and the next time we speak, I try to stop myself in that. And I say, okay, why am I feeling so strongly at this moment? And over the next day or two, I'm going to focus on that. Why did I feel so strongly in this moment?
All right, I'll try.
Could have backlash.
Yeah.
Because what happened if it's something so strong that I want to act on it?
Like what?
In a bad way, in a negative way.
I'm asking myself.
Yes.
Not asking anybody else. I'm asking myself here to say, okay, I just was more irritable, was more reactive, was more angry, was more frustrated than I wanted to. Why? And what can I do about it? About how the way I feel about the world. Not what can I be violent about to solve the source of my irritation. But why is it that I'm feeling that irritated? Not an external source, because what you're asking us to do is identify the internal source. Because the key to the self-love and the obstacle to self-love is there's something getting in the way.
Right.
There's something getting in the way from me feeling the love of God, from me feeling my own self-love, from me feeling my love of my neighbor. So what is it?
We might not like what comes out of it, but the point of it is to find out and then deal with it however we have to once you figure out the why. But you have to figure out the why before you can move on and do anything else. Right? Don't get quiet on us now, Rev.
I think this is a good place to be, though. Because here we are, 3 faith leaders, and we have just asked people not to change the world, but to begin on a journey of self-transformation for the sake of world transformation.
I like it. What you say, Rev?
I was just thinking about, step number 2, proximity. Even though we have this awesome technology that it's supposed to bring us together, but it really separates us. What happened if we found a way to be tangible with our neighbors? And I'm not talking in a weird way. I'm just saying, what happened if we go back to basics? Hi, how you doing? A smile.
Or
a
actually
gesture.
waiting for somebody to answer versus, hey, how you doing? And keep moving.
Right.
Pause.
Grace.
So I
patience.
think we have topic for next week. Because first we have to make some self-progress. And then we can make some interpersonal progress.
That sounds good.
And I'm gonna thank my amazing colleagues, Reverend Tanya, Reverend Raquel. I appreciate you both. I feel like this is a fruitful conversation because I'm getting something out of it. And I feel like when we get something out of this together, we're sharing it in a way that hopefully others can too. And we'll come back and do it again.
Sounds good.